SportsMap Radio. All over the world on the SportsMap Radio app. I am your humble host. I don't know why this weekend felt like, and it was, this weekend felt like, it really, this weekend, compared to most, like if, it's good to be back with you all. A busy 3 hours, always a busy this show because we're on during the they're going NHL Stanley Final Game 2 between Florida and Las Vegas. How about 4-0 in favor of the Vegas Golden Knights? We're at 4-0 as they go to what? The second intermission? Yeesh. Well, we were wondering if potentially both finals, NBA Final, Stanley Cup Final, were going to be blowouts. We may have the answer in one of them. I think in the case of the other, that being the NBA, it is anything but a rout. And that's where we begin the show tonight. The phone number throughout the show, if you want to be a part of it, is 1-800-224-2004, 800-224-2004. The text line number, 888-670-8549, 888-670-8549. I want to hear from you on these NBA Finals. And, I mean, if you thought one thing before the series started, do you think another now? I picked Miami in 7. We gave you Miami in 7 on this show. A couple of other really smart people probably did the same. The reality is, this team is just, they are dogs, man. They get after it for 7 games. We're going to talk about it with Brandon Scoop Robinson, host of the Scoop B Radio podcast. He is the insider for Bally Sports on the NBA, and he will join us coming up in just a matter of about 28 get some on this NBA final, where after last night, maybe the odds have shifted. You think perhaps the odds makers gotten the message? Series, I told you, the only bet in this series before it started was me to win the series. It was Miami on the money line for Game 2. It was Miami plus the points in Game 2. We gave you the blueprint for Game 2 and the remainder of this series because we told you on Friday, despite what you saw for a final score in Game 1, all the signs were there that Miami could win games, and not just win games, but win the series. And the only, Vegas was just tempting you. Vegas was daring you to go and take their money. They said, you're not going to go and bet on Miami. I mean, this is the top team in the West, the lowest seed in the East. There's no way you're going to take Miami. So we're going to make it so difficult for you to win money on Denver that the only thing you can do is put the money on Miami. And if you did, you're liking your chances right now. Go and look at the odds for this series. They have shifted. Denver minus 270, Miami plus 220. All of a sudden, that's starting to feel like a really nice bet. I'll tell you another one I like coming up in about 10 minutes on the show. A prop bet that in any other NBA final would seem preposterous. It would seem outrageous, outlandish. I'll give it to you coming up. And it runs contrary to what I am thinking about this series. That's all I can tell you. So you have to stick around and listen for that coming up. We'll let you know what it is. Light day around baseball today. Of course, Monday. And coming off the weekend, there are plenty the day around Major League Baseball. So I'll let you know what's going on around the Major Leagues today. Keep you posted on that have taken place, and I believe there's some action going on. There's one late game in our window that just got started, San Diego and Chicago. We'll keep tabs on the Padres and Cubs. This really struggled. Yeah, the Cubs and both are kind of struggling right now. The Padres, in terms of their struggles, they've been replaced in the conversation in the NL West by the Arizona Diamondbacks. Baseball game going on. This just continues to win baseball game. They continue to pound the team. Amazing. Oakland A's win watch tonight. Yes, it could happen under our watch tonight. Oakland and F in the 8th inning. Oakland and 49. 5-24 on the road through their first 30 games this year. They are threatening tonight. Bottom of the 8th in Pittsburgh. Pirates and A's. We'll keep A's do it. Pick 13. I'll tell you this. Look, going back to the Heat series, watching the Heat and the Nuggets, I keep saying this, and I posted something about it somewhere today. I don't remember where it was, but a lot of times I forget. I just remember the sentiments that I put out there. You watch Miami in a game. This entire postseason, you go and watch Miami. This team never looks dejected. It never looks down. You never see them slouch. You can see body language. And TV is great for this. There are certain things, there's certain things, the live experience of watching sports is great. But there's so many nuances you cannot pick up in the course of watching a game live. And it's the reason I don't go to a lot of live sporting events. I live 2 hours from LA. I've yet to ever go to a Dodger game. I've yet to go to an Angels game. I've yet to go to a Padres game. They're all within a couple hours. Don't get me wrong. I love the live experience for certain things. But at the same time, there's just so much more you can pick up watching a game on TV. Various camera angles. Shoot this guy with his head down. You can see body language. Watch Miami throughout this entire postseason. It is never once a team that has felt sorry for itself. It's never once a team that has looked down when when they were up 3-0 and then lost the next 3 games. This was never a team that looked like it was searching for answers. Throughout the entire postseason, in fact, Miami has played like a team that knows the answers to the exam. Like somebody slipped them the book. They know the answers. They did the homework. They know what they're doing out there. Oh, sorry, by the way, 5-4 lead on Oakland of the 8th. We might be denied for a night. Boys, when you're a Major League Baseball team and the A's come to town, or you're going to Oakland, while you may not want to play in the stadium, it's a dump. It just feels like a 3-day reprieve. You got to at least get 2, but in most cases, you're thinking sweep. You're thinking 3 games every time. You watched game 1 of this NBA final, and when you saw Denver come flying out of the gate, big lead, double digits throughout the game, Miami never looked like a team that lost its poise. Always full steam ahead. And to me, it's a culture thing, watching Miami. It's been a culture thing the entire postseason. And I'm not usually one that gets into these things that you can't really measure at all. For years, we would hear about it with Derek Jeter. It's the intangibles, right? I hate that word in sports. What's intangibles? With Miami, there is an intangible here that is difficult to measure. It's not in any of the stat lines. It's not in any of the any of the figures that come out after the game. It's the culture that's been built by Pat Riley. And I can't stand Pat Riley for the way he left the New York Knicks. But if there's one thing you have to acknowledge about Pat Riley, it is the culture that he's built in Miami and been able to implement his will through Eric Spoelstra. If you watch this Miami Heat team, it is everything a Pat Riley coach team has always been. Pat Riley has turned Eric Spoelstra into a mini-me. One of the greatest coaches of all time has been able to take everything that he has learned and pass it on to Eric Spoelstra, who obviously puts in his own wrinkles, and has this Miami team, which is heavily outgunned. Miami is not supposed to win this NBA title, and they still might not. But the fact that they're even 3 games away, 3 wins away from an NBA championship, with this group of players in this NBA final, as much as it's a credit to the players and Eric Spoelstra, it is a credit to Pat Riley. We're back. What's new in your world, Justin? No. I want that in the podcast, by the way. All the Miami Heat part of that. Like, edit out the stuff about baseball and all that, but everything in there about the Heat, Pat Riley, culture, all that, I want that in the podcast. Thanks. Coming up in 15 minutes, Brandon Scoop Robbins to the Scoop Radio podcast. And the NBA Insider join us to talk about this NBA final. We'll get his thoughts on what has been a remarkable season for the Miami Heat. What's going on with this Denver Nuggets team is very interesting. I actually asked him a question off the air, not off the record, but off the air, about what he thinks is going to happen with Ja Morant. He thinks 30 to 40 games is what Ja Morant's going to get whacked for his latest gun social media incident. Talk about half season. That's a lot of cash. A lot of cash, I'm telling you. We'll see. We will see. Good to have you all with us on the show tonight. 1-800-224-2004. 800-224-2004. You want to text the show? Go ahead and do it. 888-670-8549. 888-670-8549. If you are not following me on Twitter, now is the time to do it. We do have an announcement upcoming. I've been holding off on making it. Something new we're going to be doing on Twitter involving this show. Not even just involving this show, just with Twitter. And if you like winning things, if you like betting on sports, all these different things, you're going to want to follow us on Twitter. At the back page. At the back page. So we'll get to that coming up. Probably Tuesday or Wednesday. We'll have to wait. We wanted to announce it last week. We had to put it off. Working on some things on the business side. But Tuesday or Wednesday of this week, we should have an announcement coming on that. Pirates lead the A's 5-4. It looks like the A's are going to go down to defeat yet again. They will be 12-50. One of the biggest disgraces in baseball. If they should finish losing this game. The A's do have a runner on second with one out in the top of the ninth on the road in Pittsburgh. And they have one of their best hitters up at the plate, Brent Rooker. So we'll see. Now it's first and third, one out. The A's, as Rooker knocks a single. And now it's first and third for the A's. I mean, this is how bad the A's are. We're just hopeful they could figure out a way to get one win. Somewhere, somehow, one win. Yeah, they're basically, with the exception of a couple of guys, they're basically putting a AAA lineup out on the field every day. I said it before. I think they're a AAA team that are better than the A's this year. I'm willing to put my reputation on the line and say they're probably triple teams better than the A's this year. Text coming in from the 281. Garrett in Austin, Texas said, "Don't forget how much credit Spoelstra deserves." Eric, if you just listen to the last segment, Garrett, if you just listen to the last segment, we told you. He also said genius stuff about Pat Riley and why the Heat are fighting until the bitter end. I'm telling you, you go back and watch the Knicks teams under Pat Riley, where the Knicks almost won an NBA championship. It's the same mentality. He's brought that and instilled it. You know, go and look at the Miami Heat teams with LeBron and Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. Those teams were obviously extremely talent-laden teams. Those teams winning championships, there was no way you were going to be surprised. If it didn't end in titles for that team, it would have been an immense disappointment. That's why when you think about everything that happened with the Nets over the last couple of years, with the stars that they lumped together and the lack of success, they didn't even sniff an NBA title. It just goes to show you how difficult it is as the Florida Panthers get on the board tonight. Down 4-0 going into the third. It's now 4-1 Vegas on top of Florida. 4-1, 19, literally 14 seconds into the third period. The Panthers are able to get a goal. Aiden Hill was sloppy with the puck in his own net, and it leads to a Florida goal. The score now 4-1 Vegas on top in that game. I said in the first segment tonight, I had a bet that runs completely antithetical to everything I'm saying about Miami winning this series in 7. And here it is for you. There's going to be a game in these NBA Finals where Nikola Jokic goes off. And not just go off, but go off in a big way. FanDuel Sportsbook, the unofficial sportsbook of the Captain with Jason Page. Unofficial why? Hey, Justin, you want to know why FanDuel Sportsbook is the unofficial sportsbook of the Cashin? Because they don't pay. They don't pay to sponsor the show, so they do not get official sportsbook status. But they do get unofficial sportsbook status because they are the one that we choose to use on the show. Fair, right? Yeah, and they should be grateful that they get all the accolades. And I love the sportsbook, but until they pay, it can't be the official sportsbook of the Cash. Once we get them on the payroll, then it's a different story. Plus 4,300 is the wager. Nikola Jokic to score 50-plus points in any NBA Finals game. This thing's probably going 7. And would it shock you in the least if Jokic put up a 50-burger anywhere in this series? If there was a game where offensively he just completely took over? Last night was one of those games, by the way. If Miami loses that game last night, it's series over. Because they played so well on the road, tough spot, that if they hadn't won that game last night, might have been a 4 or 5 game sweep. 4-game sweep, 5-game series, one or the other. If they didn't get that game last night, if Denver figured out a way late to steal it, and I think at one point they had it down to like 6 late. They went on like an 11-2 run in the closing, with about 4 minutes left. I think they went on an 11-2 run, got it down with about 2.5 left. It was about a 6-point game, or 2 minutes left. It was about a 6-point game. And again, all of these situations where you would expect the wheels to come off for most teams. For Miami, it simply didn't. Wow, and Vegas comes right back with their own. But it's certainly shaping up to look like a Golden Knights Stanley Cup championship, doesn't it? They're up 5-1 with 17:50 to go in the third. And here's the scary thing. And we talked about this before the series started. If there was a goalie to regress to what they were throughout the season, who is it potentially going to be? Bobrovsky. Well, Bobrovsky's been yanked from this game. Wow, Pirates win 5-4. They got out of it. First and third, one out. Pirates hang on. Beat the A's 5-4. Oakland is 12-50, folks. They've won 12 times in the first 62 games of the Major League Baseball. Here's an interesting thing. You know how when a team is historically good, if they're in your neighborhood, you'd go see them. If there was a music band, if there was you've all heard about the craze over Taylor Swift tickets. Somebody was telling me today they're standing in line for a Taylor Swift concert and tickets were going for like $20,000 each. Stupid. People were wearing diapers in line because they didn't want to have to worry about getting out of line and getting back into line. So they were wearing diapers, which means grown adults were choosing to soil themselves to see Taylor Swift and make sure they could get tickets to see Taylor Swift. Is there anybody you would... Here's a question. Is there anybody you would soil yourself to stand in line and go see? Justin? Justin, come on, Justin. Justin Barbosa, producer, engineer, working the show in Houston. I want you to think about it. Is there anybody you would stand in line for tickets for and literally just soil yourself in order to go see? You're young, though. You got time. There might be at some point. There isn't anybody you really love that much that you would do that for? No. I almost wonder if it's worth seeing the A's this year if I have a chance. I almost wonder if it's worth seeing the A's. Because they are going to be a historic team when you think about the history of baseball. Historically bad, but historic nonetheless. When the Hindenburg was bad, it was history. We're coming back with Brandon Scoop Robinson. Stay with us. Stand in line and soil yourself. Fast rejoin coming back here. Soiling yourself in line. That warm feeling filling up the diaper. Oh my God, it's just funny to think that there are people, they're grown adults doing this. Oh my God, funny. This Friday edition of the show continues. About a little NASCAR talk. We do it every week. Back on this Monday edition of the show, the 2-for-1 tonight, none other than Brandon Scoop Robinson. Does a great job with Bally Sports, also the host of the Scoop B Radio podcast. All right, Scoop, thoughts on what you've seen through the first two games of this NBA final?
The first game was a fill-out game for both teams. I don't care if you're playing Connect Four. You got to see which way your opponent's coming. In game two, I think it was more along the lines of making adjustments on the Miami side, where you start Kevin Love and you have he and Bam Adebayo feeding off each other, but then also the shooting was much better. Gabe Vincent and others were struggling, and there was a no-show for Duncan Robinson. So I think in game two was more of you seeing the Miami team that won the hearts of many in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Boston Celtics. But even with that, Denver is still a talented team from top to bottom on their roster, and had a Jokic who still scored 41 points in the loss, and had help. I think that the issue between game one and game two for Miami was lack of assistance on their roster. And in game one in the win for Denver, it was everything clicking at the right time and all cylinders. But Miami's defense in game two was the difference maker. Denver's defense in game one was the difference maker. And I think this is why this will ultimately go 6 or 7 games.
Yeah, I liked Miami in 7 from the start. The Heat, you know what I noticed? And this is going to sound like a weird thing to say. The Heat never slouch. They never looked dejected. They never looked disconcerted, at least in this postseason. I can't speak for what they were doing games 1 through 82 when they were a mediocre basketball team, but they're always ahead, no matter the situation. And it feels like it's a culture thing built by Pat Riley, implemented by Eric Spoelstra, and they're not the better team in this series, Scoop. They're just not. They're not supposed to win this series. A 7-game series is supposed to flush out who the better team is. They're not supposed to win this series. Yet through 2 games in a best of 7, they are more than competitive here. And, I don't know. I can't figure out sort of what to sum it up to, but I look at